Ravine Flyer II at Waldameer in Erie, Pennsylvania is a Gravity Group wooden coaster that opened in the year 2008 at a cost of $6 million. This ride actually has an interesting history. It was in the works starting in the early 1990s, and it took so long to make it a reality due to the park needing to secure the approval to build over the highway. That's right, Ravine Flyer II goes over a highway before turning around and going back to the park. Why does it do this though? Ravine Flyer II is actually inspired by the original Ravine Flyer, which resided at the park from 1922 until 1938 when there was a tragic accident which led to the ride being condemned and torn down. The original Ravine Flyer also went over this highway, so this section emulates that, but instead of a dip down towards the road, like on the original, Ravine Flyer II features an airtime hill going over the road. Gravity Group ultimately came to finally do the job of building a layout inspired by the original ride and did a spectacular job of paying tribute to the classic ride of Waldameer past, and in the process would build one of the best wooden coasters in the world. Ravine Flyer II stands at a height of 80 feet, but has an impressive 118-foot drop at 60 degrees. It reaches a top speed of 57 miles per hour and features a track length of 2,900 feet with a drop-to-brake ride time of roughly 50 seconds. When boarding the classic Philadelphia Toboggan Company trains, which feature single ratcheting lap bars and seat belts, you will depart the station by making a small dip and turn to the left before climbing up to the top of the 80-foot lift hill. You get really gorgeous views at the top of the lift hill of Lake Erie, which Waldameer sits right upon. One of my favorite views from any coaster. You hit this amazing 118-foot drop, one of my favorites actually, and you will twist to the right while hitting your max speed of 57 miles per hour. This drop provides an awesome pop of decent flow ejector or ejector air, depending on where you are in the train. My favorite seat is in the back, where you will get flung over the top quickly, resulting in a nice pop of ejector. After the drop, you will go over this airtime hill, which takes you over the highway to the property on the other side and also gives good floater air. You will bank left and then twist back to the right and up into this very tall turnaround. Because of how big this turnaround is and its use of the hillside, you are absolutely hauling as you fly down this drop, and then you go into the second airtime hill adjacent to the first one, which takes you back to the other side of the highway and back into the park, getting yet more amazing floater airtime. Following this, you will traverse two small bunny hops which provide some awesome pops of ejector air and are both also covered by a separate tunnel. After these bunny hills, the ride twists and banks up to the left, back above the ravine, then over a small airtime hill which twists down to the left, then back up into another bunny hop, before taking a right-hand 90-degree bank turn which swoops back down into the ravine as you gain a lot of momentum to finish up the ride's layout. You will rise back up out of the ravine and into a right-hand bank turn where you return to ground level in the park. After this turn, you go over one more bunny hop which gives a bit of floater. Then you take a banked right-hand turn as you hit the final brakes with a pretty good amount of speed still. Ravine Flyer II is a very rough and wild wooden roller coaster. It is the type of ride where you can feel every bump, it seems, and that definitely works in the ride's favor in my opinion. I first rode Ravine Flyer II in 2009, 1 year after it opened, and have been on it countless times since, and it has aged so awesomely. It has definitely gotten much rougher over the years, which really adds to the intensity of the ride, but Waldameer has tremendous pride in its star attraction and does a phenomenal job of taking care of it. It is rough, but not painful. Just right for a wooden coaster. You will likely get a bit of a smoother ride in the front if that is something you're worried about. It will still be very intense, but isn't going to throw you around as much as in the back seat. There are, however, no non-wheel seats as it has 6 car trains with 2 rows each. I do want to iterate again, however, that I find Ravine Flyer II's roughness to work in favor of the ride rather than against it, as it has that kind of roughness you look for in a good wooden coaster. Night rides on Ravine Flyer are also something special worth noting as well. The ride sits on the edge of park parameters, and of course even travels outside of the parameters of the park when going over the road. Because of its placement, it utilizes the terrain with much of its track dipping into the ravine to the left of the lift hill. This helps the pacing throughout the ride as there are a couple pretty good sized dips towards the end which build up momentum to finish the ride. Due to this placement, at nighttime you really can't see a thing. You are shrouded in darkness, especially when flying through the tunnels, and it's just pitch black all while being ejected out of your seat. If you can, definitely grab a night ride or two on Ravine Flyer. One thing that perhaps could have been improved upon with the ride execution is the pacing at the very end. After you rise up out of the ravine for the last time, turn and go into the final bunny hop, this is definitely the most lackluster part of the ride, as you are starting to lose some of your speed, which makes sense because there is a pretty large dip into the ravine before this, but of course the train has to climb out of the ravine to get back to the station. So I'm not sure how they could have made the pacing much better here. As it stands though, the ending is not weak, just a bit less impressive than the rest of the ride, and it only loses significant speed during the last 100 or 200 feet of track anyway. There is even an awesome 90-degree bank turn incorporated into the spaghetti bowl section of the ride quite masterfully as well, which definitely helps with the intensity of the ride. I actually recall this 90-degree bank turn causing quite the buzz in the coaster community when this ride was first unveiled to the public, which is interesting to think about now. Something else that I'm not a huge fan of, but also doesn't really hurt the ride for me, is the classic PTC trains that Ravine Flyer II has. Of course, these PTC trains with the individual ratcheting lap bars and seat dividers are found all across the globe on many different types of wooden coasters. PTC has been the industry standard of wooden coaster trains for a very long time, but now there are other much improved options available on the market, including from Gravity Group themselves, with their very own Timberliner trains. Although I'm sure it would feel very nice and comfortable riding in the sleek open Timberliners, I feel that it may hinder the pacing of the ride. Timberliners were tested on Voyage and just didn't work out due to the trains not being able to get through the course with enough speed every time due to their weight. So, I do suspect Timberliners may not be an option for Ravine Flyer II. As it is with the PTCs though, it is just fine. I think these PTC trains, though not ideal, are very good at getting the job done, and there is a good reason why many still go to PTC for wooden coaster trains all these years later. The operations on Ravine Flyer II are quite good, as Waldameer staff typically do a great job at getting trains loaded quickly and dispatched from the station. I will warn you that it seems one-train operations aren't too uncommon from my experience, but the majority of times I've been to Waldameer, they've been using both trains. If it is a very busy day though, they will use both trains. And speaking to how good the operations are again, I've been to Waldameer when they are only running one train, and the line went at least all the way down the first ramp, but I still never waited that long, probably about 15 minutes. My final rating for Ravine Flyer II is a very strong 8.5 out of 10. This coaster still stands very strong in my top 10, and it offers a fun, intense, and unique ride experience with good pacing, lots of airtime, and has been maintained extremely well over the years since its debut in 2008. Let me know what you think about Ravine Flyer II, and like this review if you found it helpful. Like my page Coaster Daddy on Facebook, and follow me at Coaster Daddy Official on Instagram. Thanks so much for watching. This is Coaster Daddy. Bye.